The country music in Danny's tavern was loud, but not loud enough to cover the sharp voice that suddenly cut through it. "You two better get out of here before things get complicated." Officer Brett Coleman stood with two of his buddies, forming a wall around the small table where twin brothers Daniel and David Thompson sat. The bar was dim, thick with smoke and tension. It was Friday night, the kind of night when off-duty cops claimed this place as their turf. Daniel and David, both 34, had barely touched their beers when the officers closed in. Daniel didn't even bother looking up. "Is there a problem, officer?" he asked, calm, too calm. His relaxed posture should have been a warning, but Brett didn't see it. His partner, Rick Torres, did. He frowned slightly, uneasy. "The problem," Brett leaned forward, hands on the table, "is that this isn't the kind of place for people like you. We don't want trouble." David lifted his eyes, meeting Brett's stare with a stillness that unsettled. His gaze carried the weight of someone who had faced this scene too many times before. "Trouble? We're just having a beer." The youngest of the three officers, Jake Morrison, drunk and reckless, barked a laugh. "Don't you get it? This bar is ours, our turf. We don't like strangers poking around." Some customers glanced over, then quickly away. They knew better than to interfere. 3 cops against 2 black men. Wrong place, wrong color. Daniel's eyes flicked to David's, a half-second glance, but in that look lived decades of experience, times they'd been stopped, harassed, underestimated. Times they had swallowed the anger. This time, though, their silence wasn't surrender. It was calculation. Daniel's mind noted everything. Brett's stance left his right side open. Rick's hand hovered too close to his gun. Jake was unsteady, more alcohol than balance. Meanwhile, David had already clocked the cameras, the exits, the bar owner Luis watching nervously from behind the counter. "Look," Daniel said evenly, "we don't want trouble. Let us finish our drinks and we'll go." "No." Brett's palm slammed the table, rattling bottles. "You're leaving now. And you're going to thank me for being in a good mood tonight?" Daniel's mind flashed back to age 15. Stopped by police for no reason, accused of stealing their own school bags. They had kept their heads down then, humiliated. But that was years ago. They weren't boys anymore. "You know," David said softly, sliding his wallet out with deliberate slowness, "maybe you should show us your IDs. Just to prove you're really police officers." Brett's face turned red. "Are you challenging me?" Rick's hand shot out, gripping Brett's shoulder. "Let it go, man. Let them leave." Something about the twins' calmness made his survival instincts scream. Jake, drunk and foolish, pointed at David. "You think you can walk in here like you own the place? This is our town. We run it. You understand?" Daniel's voice cut sharp. "Your town? Interesting you'd say that." Brett shoved Daniel's shoulder. "Get up now!" The bar fell silent. Even the jukebox seemed to fade. Luis reached for his phone behind the counter. The brothers rose together, their movements mirrored, smooth, in sync like trained dancers. Same height, same athletic build, same unshakable composure. "We'll leave," Daniel said. "But you'll regret how you handled this." Brett laughed. "Regret? Outside, I'll make sure we find something on you. Then we'll see who regrets what." "You really have no idea who you're dealing with, do you?" David asked quietly. Jake sneered. "I don't care if you're kings of Africa. Out here, you're nothing." The twins walked toward the door. Their pace wasn't hurried, wasn't fearful. It was measured, controlled. Rick felt a cold chill watching them. Something wasn't right. At the door, Daniel turned. His tone was still calm, but it carried a deadly patience. "Last chance. Back down and apologize," Brett puffed his chest. "Or what?" Daniel smiled. Not anger, not defiance. Patience, the patience of men who already knew they'd won. "Or nothing. Just thought I'd warn you." No one in that bar, not Brett, not Jake, not even the cautious Rick, could have imagined what the next 15 minutes in that parking lot would bring. Outside, under flickering streetlights, Brett shoved Daniel against a car hood. "You know what your problem is? People like you think you're our equals." Jake stumbled around David, laughing. "Bet you've got drugs." "You people always do." Daniel stayed still, eyes moving, calculating. Distances, angles, weak points. His mind flashed back to Fallujah, 2011. He was a captain then, 3 seconds to make life or death calls. Calm under fire. Always calm, Brett slapped Daniel's head. I'm talking to you. Careful, David said softly. His voice wasn't loud, but it cut like a blade. Some words can't be taken back, Jake shoved David. What are you going to do? Call the cops? We are the cops. He laughed, ugly and sharp. Brett ripped Daniel's phone and wallet from his pocket, tossing them to the ground. Nice phone. Probably stolen. Give it back, Daniel said. His tone was casual, but it was the voice of a man used to giving orders, used to being obeyed. Brett bristled. Or what? Meanwhile, Jake fumbled at David's pockets, his hands shaking. Freeze! He barked, but even he didn't sound convinced. David's calm presence made him feel small. You 3 realize how many laws you've broken in the last 10 minutes? David said, still steady. Harassment, assault, illegal search. Abuse of power, Brett laughed. Street lawyer, huh? Enough, Rick said sharply. They're leaving. Let it go. Since when are you soft? Brett snapped. Across the lot, Luis recorded with his phone. He'd seen Brett bully others before, but this time was different. These men weren't afraid. They were waiting. You wanted attention? Jake sneered, poking David's chest. Now you've got it. Daniel and David exchanged that look again, half a second, silent strategy. It wasn't fear. It was coordination, military coordination. Brett pulled out handcuffs. Hands behind your back, now. No, Daniel said simply. The word froze the air. Brett blinked. What did you just say? I said no. We've committed no crime. You won't cuff us. And if you try... His calm voice hardened into steel. You'll regret it. That's a threat. Brett shouted. No, David corrected. That's a warning. Rick stepped back. His instincts screamed. These men weren't ordinary, but Brett was too drunk, too arrogant. He raised his radio. Backup's coming. We'll do this the right way. Daniel laughed, low and humorless. You wouldn't know the right way if it hit you. Jake swung a baton at David, but the commander shifted barely an inch. The baton cut empty air. Jake stumbled forward off balance. Daniel lifted his phone, filming. Unprovoked assault by an armed officer, he narrated calmly. Turn that off. Brett lunged, but Daniel slid back, keeping perfect distance. David pulled out his own phone. Now we have 2 officers committing assault on camera. Rick's gut twisted. The way they moved. The way they anticipated every step. They weren't just veterans. They were special forces. And then Luis's voice rang out. I've already called the sheriff. And these videos? They're on their way to the press, Brett snarled. You're fired, Luis. This bar... Another voice cut through the night. Calm, powerful. No, he isn't. A woman in a suit stepped from the shadows, badge in hand. Assistant District Attorney Lisa Monroe. And I just witnessed 3 officers commit at least 7 crimes. Brett's face drained of color. Harassment, intimidation, assault, abuse of authority, she listed, ticking them off. Shall I go on? David crossed his arms, a faint smile. Long time no see, Prosecutor Monroe. Her eyes widened. Commander Thompson. Captain Thompson? The officers froze. The truth hit them like a brick wall. These weren't ordinary men. One was a Navy SEAL commander. The other, an Army Ranger captain. Their arrogance had just destroyed their lives. Within minutes, sheriff's deputies arrived. Handcuffs clicked, not on the twins, but on Brett, Jake, and Rick. Phones buzzed as videos spread online. Corrupt Cops Exposed hit millions of views overnight. Victims came forward. Careers collapsed. By morning, the mayor announced a police overhaul. By night, Brett was in a cell vomiting into his hands. His career, his family, his life, gone. 6 months later, Brett Coleman poured coffee at a roadside diner. Jake sold insurance calls, his voice breaking. Rick worked night shifts in a supermarket, avoiding eye contact with mirrors. Meanwhile, Daniel was promoted to major, teaching ethics to police across the country. David advised the Pentagon. Luis owned 3 thriving taverns. Lisa Monroe became the city's first black chief district attorney. The twins had turned humiliation into history. Their dignity became their weapon. Their patience, their victory, and Brett Coleman? He learned too late what arrogance always forgets. Prejudice has consequences, and respect is never taken. It's earned because justice doesn't have a color. It has results.